I've been building my own kingdom for everyone to see. It exists to keep me safe from harm, and it's intact to glorify me. Nobody helped me build this up. It was me and me alone. I've appointed myself as the king, and I've given myself the throne. But it turns out I'm no ruler, and I have no control. So I have decided to destroy it all. I'm tearing down the walls, kicking down the doors. Everything inside this kingdom is yours. 'Cause what I've made is worthless, and it cannot stand. Come and breathe some life into my empty, cold, dead hands. Down with the fickle king, away with this fantasy. You are the one I need. Death to the kingdom of me. Death to the kingdom of me. I should probably be frightened. This empire's all I know, but it always does more damage than good. I'm afraid it's gotta go. I know that I can't be trusted, 'cause I'm just a man. And if you hadn't given your life for me, a loser would be all that I am. You know they say just follow your heart. I'm afraid that's a load of trash. Your heart will take you down to deep, dark places where you feel like you'll never come back. So I'm coming out of the dark. This facade is... I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, I woke up feeling like it might be a good day to get it done. That's right. Oh, the stadium is just like my second house. Now I'm two-tone talking, they can't shut my mouth. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, 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 yeah. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. The misery that is the 2024 NFL season for the Tennessee Titans rolls on, and it rolls into our old stomping grounds of Houston, Texas this afternoon as the Tennessee Titans at 2-8. Oh, baby, 2-8 roll into Houston this weekend to watch the Houston Texans, who are 7-4, were the favorite to win the division before the season even started, and now even more so. What an awful division. And Titans are looking to go in and play spoiler. Titans are looking to go in and pull an upset. And, of course, the debate rages on among Titans fans. Should the Titans even bother winning this game? Okay. So let me start off talking to the lunatics, the psychos.
Those psychos who are still looking at the remaining games and trying to figure out, is it possible? Is it possible that the Titans can do something crazy? I've seen people sharing all week, it was just a couple of years ago that the Titans were 7-3 in the division and the Jaguars were 3-7 and the Jags came back and won the division. Could the same thing happen? I mean, listen. This part's for the lunatics, okay? This part is for the psychopaths. If you want the Titans to have any chance, you got to beat Houston. If you're a lunatic and you're still holding out hope, there's something unforeseen could happen with the remainder of this season. You better hope Titans win this game Sunday, because if you don't sweep the Texans, you can forget it. You're 5 games behind them. Now, the bright side of that is the Texans still have to play the Ravens. They still have to play the Chiefs. They still have to play the Dolphins, who are looking pretty good. So, hey, if you're a lunatic, I am now going to encourage you to be a lunatic. But a lot of people are looking to mock drafts, and that's probably a little more realistic. Good news for the Titans last night is the Cleveland Browns won. I hope that someday I can be as excited for anything as Jameis Winston is to play in the snow, But the Browns won last night, and that's good news for the Titans in terms of the draft, because the Browns are one of those teams that are up there, and the Jags are off this weekend, and so possible that the Titans, if you lose, you might move up to number 1 in the draft. So, wow. Lots to unpack there. The Raiders, obviously, they're up there as well. So should the Titans even bother winning? It really doesn't matter what we think about that, because I've talked about this before. When you talk about tanking, when you talk about losing for draft position, that's something that fans talk about. That's something that people like me and you talk about. The players are never going to do that, okay? And that goes for the Titans. That goes for any team. You even though I do think that Jacksonville, for example, went out and laid down and quit against the Lions, I think that was more so just, we know we can't compete with this team, so we're not even going to bother. More so than just, we're trying to intentionally lose so that we can help our draft position. Players and coaches are never going to go for that. They put too much time in. They put too much work in. So if you think the Titans are going to go out there and intentionally try to lose this or any game, you're out of your mind. They're going to go out there and they're going to try to beat the Houston Texans. And I put it in the thumbnail. I put it in the title of the episode. All eyes are on Will Levis. In terms of the Tennessee Titans, all eyes are on Will. And if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to click the like button. Help me to get into the algorithm. All eyes are on Levis, because I feel like there is a sense of optimism regarding Will Levis now. Since he returned from injury, going against probably the 2 best defenses that we'll see in the Chargers and the Vikings, probably the 2 best defenses we'll see, and Will Levis played well against the Vikings, and he played pretty well against the Chargers. So there is some renewed optimism in the fan base regarding Will Levis and whether or not he can be the quarterback of this team. So it's on him if he's going to capitalize on it, because if he reverts back to week 1 through 3, Will Levis, then it's over. If he can continue to put together some good performances like he has the last 2 games, win or lose, that's the most important thing. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know. I don't think Houston's defense is as good as Minnesota's. I don't think Houston's defense is as good as the Chargers. I don't think the Texans are as good as Minnesota. I don't think the Texans as a whole are as good as the Chargers. And so, after playing the Bills, you're talking about a brutal stretch of games, excluding that Patriots game. Bills, Colts, or it's not Colts. I read the word Colts. Bills, Lions. Far cry from the Colts. They're playing the Colts this weekend. Bills, Lions, Chargers, Vikings. That's brutal. 4 out of 5 games. Those are the teams we play in. Those are all top 10 teams in the NFL. I don't think Houston is. And maybe it's my bias in the AFC South. I don't think Houston is as good as those teams. I think the Titans' schedule gets a little lighter from here on out. You got to play Jacksonville twice. You got to play Indianapolis again. The Colts are nothing to laugh at, but they're not as good as those teams we've played. The Bengals, they're not nothing to laugh at, but they're not as good as those teams we've played. So, and even Washington, who is good, and that's the toughest game the Titans have left, in my opinion, they're not as good as the Lions or the Bills or the Chargers or the Vikings, though. So there's an opportunity not for the Titans to start winning and get to the playoffs. I think that would be just unforeseen. But for Will Levis to play better, Will Levis to come out and continue to build on what he's done these last 2 games, because I said this before and I will repeat it. The best possible thing that could happen for the Tennessee Titans is for Will Levis to play great over these last 7 games and be good enough to bring back next year. That would be a great situation, because then you don't have to spend a draft pick on a quarterback that you're not sure about. I mean, it would be one thing if this were a draft that had like great quarterback prospects, but I've talked about it before. We got plenty of time to talk about it before April. I ain't sold on Shedeur currently. I'm intrigued. I can be talked into it. I'm not totally sold on Cam Ward, and if I'm not sold on either one of those 2 guys, I sure ain't sold on Quinn Ewers or Carson Beck or any of the others. So I don't know if this quarterback draft is as strong. The free agent group is not strong at all. So the best case scenario for the Titans would be if Will Levis plays well enough these last 7 games, you can bring him back next year. He's still on a rookie deal. You ain't got to pay. You ain't got to do. A lot of people talking about Daniel Jones. You ain't got to do what the Giants did and overpay for a mediocre guy. He's still going to be on a rookie deal. You can bring him back, and it's not going to cost you anything. And if he sucks next year, then whatever. But if he's back, you can address all this other crap, such as right tackle. Nicholas Petit-Frere is going to be back in there. People are mad about that. I hate that he's going to be in too, but who else? I mean, Isaiah Prince doesn't know how to line up. Isaiah Prince, the other guy, doesn't know how to line up. Leroy Watson can't stop committing penalties. Jalen Duncan is still hurt, and he's not good anyway. Every option we have at right tackle sucks. So, yeah, I hate that Nicholas Petit-Frere is going to be in there against a good Houston Texans defensive front, but we're out of options. I mean, people talk about the right tackle position as though there's just an obvious answer. Well, we need to just go with this guy instead. There's no guy. There's no guy on the roster to go with. I just not. We're stuck with the revolving door of doo-doo for the rest of this season. So you got to fix that. You gotta find a young wide receiver. And notice the word I said there, young. Calvin Ridley's going to be back next year, but he's about the only one for sure. We already traded D-Hop. I would suspect Tyler Boyd's not going to be back. Nick Westbrook-Akine needs to be back, but Traylon Burks ain't going to be back. We got to get some young wide receivers in here. That's what I'd like to see the Titans do with their first-round pick most of all. I'd like to get Travis Hunter. I'd like to get one of those other wide receivers up there in the top 5 and then maybe get a right tackle in the second round. But we got forever to talk about that. But you can't do any of that if you have to spend a pick on a quarterback. If Will Levis sucks these last 7 games, starting on Sunday against Houston, that's why I said all eyes on Levis, win or lose. Because the odds of Tennessee beating Houston on Sunday, I mean, listen, I don't think Houston's that good. I think Stroud has regressed, but I mean, either way, even if Tennessee drops to 2-9 on Sunday, if Will Levis can go out there and play well, you take it as a step in the right direction. If Will Levis continues to play like he did the last 2 weeks. But I just got to go ahead and tell you, I'm not sold yet. These good performances that he's had the last couple of weeks does not negate what I saw that first month of the season. I ain't over it yet. I ain't forgot about it. I ain't willing to forget about it. I saw Will Levis at a press conference this week talking to the media. He had some jokes. They said, why have you been playing better the last couple of weeks? He said, well, I haven't tried to chest pass the ball. I haven't tried to underhand it. Kind of showed some self-awareness, and that's all fine and good. But I don't want to hear any jokes if you're going to come out and do it again. If you're going to make jokes about some of the crazy stuff you've done in the past, that's all fine and good, but you better not ever do it again. Ever again. And, lest we forget, even though the Vikings game he played well, sure wasn't perfect because his pocket presence was still not great. There were still some open guys that he didn't even try to throw to. So it was not perfect, but it was significantly better, and I'm interested to see if he can continue that. I'm interested to see against a good defensive front with Nicholas Petit-Frere at right tackle. I'm interested to see how Will Levis performs in Houston on Sunday. That stadium's going to be loud because they always get loud when they play the Titans because they hate us because we left. But, you know, all eyes on him. And I already know. We're getting ready to talk about the game as a whole. I say it every week. There's no team that loves watching their former players destroy them quite like the Tennessee Titans. And Danico Autry is on that Texans defensive line. He's going to be going up against Nicholas Petit-Frere. So I'm just ready for the Danico Autry game of the year. Azeez Al-Shire, he's on the Texans. So I'm just getting ready for the Azeez Al-Shire game of the year because one thing about the Titans, when they're playing their former players are going to go off on them. Malik Willis had a great game against the Titans in week 3. We watched Hassan Haskins score a touchdown on us a couple weeks ago. Bud Dupree got a couple of sacks in that game with the Chargers. Who else? There was one other one that I'm forgetting. A Bills player, maybe? No, the Lions. Khalif Raymond totally destroyed us. So, you know, I'm dreading that because I just know Danico Autry is going to have at least 2 sacks in this game. But I'm not just watching Will Levis. I'm watching Brian Callahan too. Because this guy, you know, there's a lot of people still on the fence about him. So I'm looking to see how he fares in these last 7 games as well. I'm worried about our secondary. Going up against Tank Dell and Nico Collins and Schultz and Mixon and all of those weapons that the Texans have. No L'Jarius Sneed again. Like, I just can't even believe this guy. Cheeto Awuzie, like I said, sometimes I forget he's even on the team. He hasn't played in so long. I'm worried about Jarvis Brownlee and Darrell Baker and all of those guys going against those weapons that Houston has. Very worried about that. The biggest weakness the Texans have is their offensive line, and I know the feeling. If the Titans are going to have a chance to win this game, they're going to have to get to the quarterback. And they did that against Minnesota. Getting to the quarterback was not the problem. Getting the quarterback down was the problem. Because the Titans almost sacked Sam Darnold probably 10 times, but they just didn't get him down. They're going to have to get C.J. Stroud down when they get back there because the Texans' offensive line is not bad. So Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry, Tavondre Sweat, Arden Key, who's been having a good year. Any guys that get on the defensive line, somebody's got to get to C.J. Stroud because the Texans' biggest weakness is their offensive line, and I would say one of our biggest strengths for the most part is Simmons, Sweat, Landry on the defensive line, Key, who's played well. So if you're going to win this game, you're going to have to get to the quarterback. You're going to have to take advantage of the Texans' bad offensive line. And you're going to have to get some turnovers. I know you got robbed of one by the referees last week, but you're going to have to not only get C.J. Stroud, I would like to see a strip sack. I would like to see C.J. Stroud fumble. I would like to see the Titans recover. That's how you win this game on the road. And then offensively, yes, the Titans are going to have more from their run game than they had last week. I said it before. I'm not going to harp on how bad the run game was against Minnesota because that's the first time the run game has been bad this year. But the run game was bad against Minnesota. Tony Pollard, I don't even know if Tyjae Spears is playing because he's had a concussion. I just want to go ahead and say, Tyjae Spears, at what point do we get a little bit concerned about how injured this guy is? Nobody's talking about it. I like the kid. I understand he's young, but I do just want to say Tyjae Spears sure does seem to be hurt a lot. A lot. I hope that's not an omen of things to come, but whoever's running the ball, whether it's Pollard or Chestnut or whoever, somebody's going to have to run it well because the Titans, last week against Minnesota, they didn't get anything from their run game, and it hurt them. 32-1, NFL Two-Tone Talk Power Rankings based on how I see it. The bottom three has changed around a lot, but at number 32, last place, there's only one team that belongs, and it is the Jacksonville, by God, Jaguars, the worst team in the league. If any team looks like they have just completely quit, it is Jacksonville. The Raiders still look like they're competing. The Titans still fighting. The Browns, obviously, last night beating the Steelers, still competing. The Jaguars look like they have absolutely phoned it in already. So the Jaguars are in last place. I have not forgotten how good people thought Trevor and the Jaguars were going to be this year. How did that work out for you? Number 31, the Giants. Obviously, Daniel Jones, what a crazy situation. He was benched and then demoted to like QB4. Then he was playing scout team safety. And then today they've released him. They paid him all that money. They have released Daniel Jones. I expect he'll be picked up to be a backup somewhere. I don't know. What a crazy situation. But Daniel Jones is gone. The Giants are bad. And so the Giants are going to be in the market for a quarterback this offseason. That's a team you need to look at being up there toward the top of the draft. Number 30, I had to abbreviate it because the word wouldn't fit there. So I just put cows. But that, of course, means the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are one of the worst three teams in the NFL. I mean, they, in every way, their whole organization is bottom three right now. The sun is shining in and blinding their own players. The stadium's falling apart. Their quarterback pretty much said, deuces, I'm going to have surgery. They have no run game. Everybody saw it coming from a mile away. Jerry Jones is living in fantasy land. And I think the abbreviation that I use there, cows, I think actual cows would play better than the Dallas Cowboys at this point. They are absolutely pathetic. Let's get into the 20s. 29, the Raiders. Like I said, Raiders still fighting. I just saw Amnesia send in a super chat question. Let me see this. If the Titans get hot over these next 7 games, they could potentially end 9-8, Amnesia says. They would have to, they have to win out. You cannot lose another game. Now, that's a long shot, but it's possible with the way they have played over the last couple of games. Listen, it is a long shot. It's a very long shot, but I do think the worst of the Titans' schedule is behind them. I laid it out earlier. You got to play the Jags twice. They are not as good as the teams you've been playing over the last month. Neither are the Colts, neither are the Bengals, neither are the Texans. The Commanders, you still got to play them. That's going to be your toughest game left because it's on the road. But even Washington has looked a little more human the last time they played. So, yeah, I'll give you that. The Titans winning 7 in a row, Jacksonville did it a couple of years ago. So we'll see. Number 29 on this list is the Raiders. They're fighting. They're trying. They're going to be an interesting team. They're going to be trying to draft a quarterback. A lot of rumors about Mike Vrabel going to the Raiders. I don't know why. They just have Antonio Pierce the first year. Surely they won't get rid of him already. But I also have heard Mike Vrabel to the Cowboys. That would be hilarious. Mike Vrabel and Jerry Jones trying to work together to build a roster. Yeah, that'd be good. Number 28, the Titans, just for the simple fact that they showed some fight. some heart against good opponents. They're still competing. They're still trying. Will Levis playing better. They still don't know how to score points, but for that reason, I can put them above a few teams, but they're still just not looking good. Number 27, the Jets. Words can't even describe how bad the situation is with the Jets. There's just no words to describe it. It's a worst-case scenario. It is doomsday for the Jets. Nothing more needs to be said. Number 26, the Patriots. About where they've lived on this list all season, the Patriots at 26. May's playing okay. They'll be encouraged about him going into next year. They don't have a very good roster, but they got some spunk. They fight. Number 25, the Panthers. The Panthers were on a bye, so I just kept them at 25. And like I said last week, I think that's the highest that the Panthers have ever been ranked on this list. Number 25, 2 weeks in a row. Number 24, the Bears. Heartbreaker for the Bears last Sunday, losing to the Packers on that blocked field goal at the end. Just been a heartbreaking year for the Bears. I mean, not quite. I don't think they had high as expectations as the Jets, but they had high expectations with the talent they brought in, Caleb Williams. But this is a team, what worries me for them is you got guys on this team that look like they don't want to be there. You got guys on this team that look like they got a bad attitude. They got to get a new coach. I expect they will. Number 23, the Browns. The Browns, against the Saints last Sunday, Jameis Winston threw for nearly 400 yards. They didn't turn the ball over. They got turnovers, and they still lost by 21. Crazy. But then last night, they beat the Steelers in the snow. So, I mean, the Browns, I said this when they benched Watson, or they didn't bench Watson. He got hurt. But when they went with Jameis, they are a better team with Jameis Winston. They're not a playoff team, but if they'd started Jameis from the beginning, they would have gotten a few more wins. But the Browns, it was a feel-good win for them last night in the snow over a division rival. Jameis Winston is one of the more likable guys in the NFL right now. So Browns get the win. Number 22, the Saints. I mean, the Saints doing everything they can to try to revive their season. They started 2-0. Then they lost like 7 games in a row. Looked like they were dead in the water. I had them in the bottom 3 on here. But now they've won a couple, and because the Falcons are refusing to tie up that division, the Saints are 2 games behind them. And, the Falcons better start taking care of business. Number 21, the Colts. The Colts got a win over the Jets in the return of hopes and dreams. Anthony Richardson. Listen, the Colts are okay. I'm not a believer in Anthony Richardson at all, but you already know that. But they played a bad Jets team, and they beat them. And they beat them on the road. So the Colts are okay. They're okay. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're a playoff team, but they're okay. Number 20, let's go to the other side of the screen where we have the Bucs. Tampa Bay was off this week. They're getting Mike Evans back. And, hey, yeah, it's been a tough few weeks for them with all the injuries, but they're getting Mike Evans back. There's still a couple of games behind the Falcons. They did lose to the Falcons twice, so they're really 3 games behind the Falcons. But the Bucs, not totally dead yet. Number 19, the Bengals. I don't know what to tell you about. I mean, Burrow looks great every week. Jamar Chase looks great every week. T. Higgins looks good. They just can't figure out how to win any games. They lose these close games, and, tough loss to the Chargers. Felt like that could have revived their season if they won that game, but now here we go. They're just still kind of flailing out there. Number 18, the Seahawks. Seahawks kept their playoff hopes alive with a big win over the 49ers. They're 5-5. Seahawks, they're a gritty team. They're a middle of the pack team to me. I don't think they're a playoff team. Number 17, the Falcons. I hated to drop the Falcons down like this, but I mean, they got obliterated. They got absolutely obliterated by the Denver Broncos on Sunday. What was it? 38-6. Just absolutely horrendous. And they got whooped by the Seahawks a few weeks ago like this at home. They got whooped by the Broncos. Their defense looks bad. The Falcons need to get it together quick because the Saints and the Bucs not totally going away there. Number 16, the Dolphins. Speaking of keeping your playoff hopes alive, Dolphins are still hanging around. We have breaking news here, according to the chat. Teron Davenport just reported L'Jarius Sneed going to IR. So I said last week they need to just put Sneed on IR and shut him down for the year so that Jarvis Brownlee, the rookie, can just get all the reps. I just fear that L'Jarius Sneed, and I know I'm taking a break from the 32-1 here, but I fear L'Jarius Sneed doesn't want to be here. I just get the vibe from his interviews that he is not happy in Tennessee, and I hope he's back next year, but I just get the vibe from the kind of attitude that he's had in his interviews of late. I feel like he's not regretting the money that he's been paid, but regretting the team that he's on. Dolphins at 16, their playoff hopes are still alive. They're a much better team with Tua. Already said that. Number 15, the Broncos. Listen, not a big believer in the Broncos, but I'm a believer in Bo Nix. Bo Nix is playing extremely well, and I guess the Broncos are probably going to make the playoffs as a 7 seed. I mean, they're leading the charge. I think they're better than the Colts, who are the nearest team to them. So I think the Broncos might make it. Bo Nix, not impossible that he could be the offensive rookie of the year. If Jaden Daniels starts slacking off these last 7 games, Bo Nix could make a case for rookie of the year. Number 14, the 49ers. I'm about to just give up on the 49ers. I keep giving them the benefit of the doubt. I think this is the lowest I've had them ranked on the list all year. I mean, they're in last place in their division. They're in last place. I don't know what in the world is going wrong with the 49ers, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs as of right now. I don't think they're going to make it. Unbelievable. And they were in a lot of people's mind, they were the ones to beat in the NFC, but not now. Number 13, the Rams. The Rams, they're still alive. They're still alive in the playoff. I mean, even if they don't make the playoffs, I still think the Rams will play spoiler for somebody. Matt Stafford is still playing at such a high level, and they've got a lot of good talent on that team. And I'm not totally, if a team like the Commanders or the Vikings or the Packers start slacking off, I'm not going to totally throw out the idea of the Rams sneaking in as a wild card. Number 12, the Texans. They beat the Cowboys on Monday night. Good for them. The Cowboys are horrible. I still think C.J. Stroud has regressed. I still think their offensive line's no good. I still think that they're just a tier below those other heavyweights in the AFC. Number 11, the Commanders. Had to drop the Commanders out. They played on Thursday night. I just hope they don't run out of steam, because with Jaden Daniels, I mean, they were cooking there for a little bit. Then they had a tough couple of losses. They had a mini bye after the Thursday nighter. Maybe that'll give them time to get it back together. But, I still got the Commanders at 11, but I had to drop them out of the top 10. And speaking of the top 10, let's quickly get into the top 10. At number 10, I went with the Vikings. I don't think the Vikings can get to the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold, but they've got a really good defense, a really aggressive defense, great weapons on offense, and the referees tend to help them a lot too. But the Vikings, I would say they're a good top 10. I mean, they're 8-2. I mean, we can say it's fluky, but they're 8-2. Number 9, I went with the Ravens, the 2 purple teams back-to-back. The Ravens, their defense is just, their defense actually played well Sunday, but most of the time their defense doesn't play well. I don't know. I got a weird feeling about this Ravens team. I believed in them earlier on, but here lately it's like, there's just something that's not clicking. There's something that's not clicking about that Ravens team. But I got them in the top 10. So number 8, I went with the Steelers. I know they lost last night, but I don't think it negates the fact that they got a huge division win over the Ravens on Sunday. Last night, I think the weather conditions played a role. I'm not saying the Steelers would have won if it had been clear and not snow, but I do think the weather played a role. They play the Browns again in a couple of weeks. We'll see. And I think the Steelers are fine. So I got them at number 8. Number 7, the Cardinals. The Cardinals were off this week, but Arizona, they're in control of their own destiny. They're in sole possession of first place in that division. I'm interested to see if they can keep it going. I'm interested to see if the Cardinals can keep it going with Kyler Murray and company. I'm interested to see. but they were looking really good for their bye. Number 6, the Packers. I think the Packers beating the Bears the way that they did, winning like that really does something to a team that now you start feeling like you're supposed to win. You start feeling like winning is what should happen for you when you win games like that. It builds some momentum, and I think you'll start to see that with Green Bay. Let's get into the top 5. The Chargers. I jumped the Chargers up to number 5. I mean, they're boring. They just kind of suffocate you over the course of a game. But Justin Herbert has been playing really well this season. He just flies under the radar because he's not on an exciting team. But Justin Herbert's been playing well. J.K. Dobbins been playing well. Their defense is really, really good. Harbaugh's a great coach. And they're winning games. They're 7-3. I think they're a lock for the playoffs, and I keep saying it. They are going to upset somebody in the playoffs, I guarantee you. Number 4, the Chiefs took their first loss on Sunday, but they're still the Chiefs. I mean, come on. They're still the Chiefs. They're 9-1, and they have such an easy schedule the rest of the way. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Number 3, the Eagles. Eagles beat the Commanders, so now they're really in charge of that NFC East the rest of the way. They got to play the Commanders again at some point, but I think the Eagles are, they belong toward the top of these lists because they got the experience. They've been in the Super Bowl with a lot of these guys. And then the same top 2 we've had. Number 2, the Bills, who really solidified their spot up here by beating the Chiefs. Josh Allen, I think, should be leading the way for the MVP right now, and we'll see how that continues. And then, of course, at number 1 is the Detroit Lions. They've been number 1 for most of the season. They're not just beating teams, they are obliterating teams. They are destroying teams. And so there you go. That's the 32-1 for this week. And now it's time to make picks. Obviously, like I said, the Browns beat the Steelers last night. Again, good news for the Titans if you're interested in draft position. Let's make some picks for Sunday. And of course, in the chat, let me know your picks for these games as well. Buccaneers playing the Giants. Oh, absolutely going with the Bucs. They are coming off of a bye. Mike Evans is healthy. The Giants are in total disarray. They're starting Tommy DeVito. Absolutely going with the Bucs to get on track and win a game here. Chiefs, Panthers. Can you imagine? It's in Carolina. Can you imagine? This would be one of the biggest upsets. But I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going with the Chiefs coming off of a loss. And the Panthers are just, come on. I'm going with the Chiefs. Cowboys, Commanders. Commanders coming in off a couple losses at home. I absolutely got the Commanders winning big in this game over the Cowboys. They're a 10.5-point favorite. Patriots, Dolphins. I'm going to go with the Dolphins again. I think the Dolphins, they're kind of sneaking up into that playoff race, and I think they'll continue to. I think they beat the Patriots at home, get to 5-6, and the Dolphins getting a little frisky there. Lions, Colts in Indianapolis. I feel like this game is going to be closer than people expect, but I still am picking the Lions to win. But I got a sneaky feeling about this one. I'm still going with the Lions, but it just feels like the Lions are due. They're due to lose a game, right? But I still got them. Vikings, Bears. I'm going with the Bears. I feel like the Bears have been through so many heartbreaking defeats. They're at home. I think Minnesota is due a loss. I think Sam Darnold's going to struggle against that defense. I got the Bears. Broncos, Raiders. I'm going with the Broncos. I think the Broncos will continue to have a chokehold on that 7 seed in the AFC. I think they should absolutely beat the Raiders. 49ers, Packers. I'm going to go with the Packers. I think that winning a game, like I said, like they did last Sunday, down to the end, blocked field goal. I think they're going to come in with momentum, some swagger, and the 49ers just feel a little lost right now. So I'm going with Green Bay. Cardinals, Seahawks. I think this will be close. This is a huge game for Seattle. They're a game behind Arizona. If they win, I think Seattle might jump up to first in the division, but I am going with the Cardinals to win this game. They've won 4 or 5 in a row. They're coming off of a bye. I got the Cardinals coming in and winning that game. But the Seahawks, it's in Seattle. Seahawks, they have some momentum of their own. Game-winning drive at the end to beat the 49ers the other day. Sunday night, it's the Eagles and the Rams. And I'm going with the upset. I'm going with the Rams to beat the Eagles on Sunday night. I just got a feeling. I think people are sleeping on the Rams just because they're kind of flying under the radar. But I think the Rams get the win. And then Monday night is Ravens-Chargers. They're going to be low scoring, but I'm going with the Ravens. I'm going to go with the Ravens to beat the Chargers Monday night. And last but not least, the Titans and the Texans. Only the Titans' second division game of the year. I do think the Titans have a chance. I think they have a chance. Like I said, I don't think Houston is as good as people thought they would be. I don't think Houston is as good as a lot of the teams the Titans have been playing. But at this point, they're 2-8. It's hard for me to just come on here and predict the Titans to win because they haven't shown me that they can win a tough game like this on the road. I mean, they beat what was left of the Dolphins in week 4. They beat a bad Patriots team in overtime. Those are their only wins. They haven't won a game where Will Levis started yet. And so I have to go with just what I've seen. And what I've seen is that the Titans are probably not going to win this game. I think the Titans keep it close. I do. But I got Houston winning 27-20. I think at the end of the day, our secondary is going to struggle. And I think our defensive line against their offensive line will be able to keep us in the game. And I got the Texans. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is, whoops, keep clicking on the wrong thing. This is the Two Tone Talk by God Pod, where we are staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. I will be back on Monday to talk about whatever happens on Sunday, and I appreciate you guys joining in today on this Friday episode. You can also listen on Spotify or SoundCloud. Two Tone Talk by God Pod, staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. God bless you, everybody. Have a good weekend. Tighten up. Bye.